Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Infinite Potential of Being Human podcast. I am here today with Nicholas Onken, who is not coming on today as, I guess, a guest of from your profession, but coming on here as my partner
Yes,
and my love,
beloved.
my beloved. Yes, my beloved. So, one of the reasons why we decided to sit down and have this conversation on mic and on camera was so many people have asked us to share more publicly about what we have together and what we share together and how we live together and this incredible relationship that we have. And we've always been very protective about it. And I don't know, it just kind of felt right that maybe it's time to open the door or to allow people to look into the window of our life behind closed doors.
Yeah.
So here
Some
we
some
are.
closed doors.
Some, not all the closed doors, but some closed doors. And why do you think that is? Why do you think people that we've hung out with, that have met us as a couple, that have spent time with us as a couple, why do you think that people repeatedly have asked us to share more about what we have together?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a because it's different. I think there's an energy that we have together that's different than everything else that people are in and that people are seeing that are I think there's also this space that it's been hard for us to talk because there's so much around the public bringing relationships into the public.
And the public perceptions of it. Like what I've noticed when people spend time with us is they immediately can feel the energy that we have between us, but also that the union that we have seems to emanate. And the people who are closest to us, they know how sacred that is and also how unique it is because there's something really pure that we have together. And so those people have asked us to share more and be more transparent about it, I guess, because they want to hear how they can have the same. And then on the other side of the spectrum, we've also experienced a lot of people projecting their fairy tales onto us, their stories about us. Like, I mean, how many times have people come up to us and like, oh my God, I love you both so much. And the way that they kind of see us is through the filter of their fairy tale.
Right.
And we've both been like, ugh, we don't want that fairy tale. We don't want to take that on. Um, and of course, you have experienced. Okay, we're going to go down this road. Um, you have experienced what it's like being the other side of a relationship that is kind of used as a public presentation of manifestation.
Right. Right.
And so, I mean, firstly, we are in a world where there's a very, very thin line between the relationships that we have and then that being used to somehow become a product.
Yeah, which happens a lot out there.
Which happens a lot out there. And I think both of us have been very, very protective over what we have so that it doesn't cross the line of becoming a product. And because you know what that feels like.
I do know how what that feels like, and that's probably a big reason why I was so apprehensive to even share anything online in the beginning or even throughout. Even though I've been less on social media in general, but I think I was in a relationship before that just like put me off to the whole thing. Dating a relation, I don't want to say no, not a relationship coach, a manifestation coach who was touting like this, you can have the perfect, manifest the perfect man and blah 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 blah. Well, behind the scenes, it was like, you're not good enough, you need to go do some work, I need that. It was just like this whole completely different paradigm. And throughout the whole time, I felt a lot of times that I was being used as like this like chess piece in this master game just to sell a product.
Oof.
And so, yeah, there is apprehension to that for me. I mean, have you been in a relationship where you were public, really public about it? And
Well, no, I haven't. And I was deliberate about that, but also my past relationship, we kind of lived in two very different worlds. So that never really became even an option. But I know that when we met, um, there was a lot of there was a lot for you to heal from. And one of the things that, and me too, by the way, but one of the things that I was so kind of interested and also shocked by was hearing your side of what it feels like to be a product in somebody's manifestation story.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it was felt really weird, and didn't feel completely congruent. It didn't feel good
Right.
per se. It was like, why am I even here?
Are you here just to prove a story, and to sell programs?
Yeah, and I mean, I think the other piece of it is like, oh, I'm being touted as like the dream man, but then like behind closed doors, it was like, oh, you need to work on this, and you need to work on
Right.
this, and
So
like,
there was a real conflict between the presentation and then what was happening at home.
yeah, yeah,
Right. And so, uh, I think I think that that happens a lot. And, we live in a world where our public lives are so exposed more than ever before. And so, there's such a fine line. It's such a fine line between sharing our personal selves as a form of inspiration and transparency, and then that crossing over into a money making machine.
right,
Right. And so I know for me, our love and what we have is probably one of the most sacred things that I have ever experienced. And I feel as protective over it as I do of my children, that it is sacred and pure. And I would never want any of that energy of using it to somehow better my career or better my public profile. I would never want to use it that way.
right, right. Well, I mean, yeah, I would not want to do that either, and I think in this, I think really more in the space of manifestation, it's like that's where I think it goes really out of whack, because at the end of the day, we all have our own work to do, and we all, there's not this perfect, I don't think there is a perfect relationship
Or a fairy tale.
or a fairy tale.
Right.
And I think the fairy tale is marketed so hard these days. And this fairy tale, it's used to make so much money.
Yes. And the fairy tale is almost it is being sold as if it's the answer to something that's missing and painful. And so only when you get the fairy tale that somehow that will take away what is missing and painful, which of course that's just another form of survival, right? Um, Ironically, before I met you, I was so committed to, my work of maturation that I actually didn't even believe in true love. I had become so cynical, thinking that this kind of beautiful union that I had been seeing in, I guess, on Instagram and in the kind of self-development world, I honestly believed that all of it was trauma based, and that there was no such thing. And it has surprised me since meeting you that it is real, that true love is real.
Right.
But it's not the fairy tale to take away pain. It's something that has become available because of so much healing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think we definitely both needed to do our own work to even get to this connection. And, I needed the relationship before this to really like show me things that didn't work and spaces that I needed to grow through. And, there's no, it is, I mean, I think relationships are, it's like we talk about this all the time. Relationships are the biggest mirror for
Yes.
where we're at personally. And, it's like how much 95% of relationships are making up stories about in our own head, coming from our childhood and things like that, that aren't even real
Yeah.
or may not be real. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't.
Right.
But I think that, so many times these relationships fall apart because, or blow up, or just end up in so much drama because one person or both parties are not, they're living in the past trauma and need to like,
Without realizing
without
that it
realizing
is.
it.
And of
Yeah.
course that's actually the job of the intimate mirror, isn't it? And this is for everybody listening, is that this is we're not just saying this, for people who haven't done work. This is all human beings. That the greatest intimate mirror of all is the one that you let into your heart, that you dare to open your heart to.
Yeah.
And that then becomes the greatest intimate mirror. And of course, that's also the greatest trigger um, to the deepest wounds. Because who did we love more than anything? As children, our parents. And so whatever has been unresolved and unhealed and is still running us, which, is our history, our childhood, the greatest catalyst to opening those wounds or to revealing what is unhealed is the one that you let into your life and into your heart.
Right.
And so it's the the one that you let in is not the prince charming that's going to come and save you from all that pain. He's actually going to be the one to hold a mirror up towards you and show you this is what still needs to be healed, my beloved. And
Right.
it becomes part of the process. um so let's start at the beginning. um how did we meet? Say your side of how we met, and then I'll say my side, because obviously there were two different realities that then connected.
Well, we met in Peru on a medicine retreat with Noyarao, which is the great grandmother of ayahuasca's teacher. And I had found out about this medicine because, well, my my ex wanted me to go do work with someone, and because I don't know, wasn't masculine enough or grounded enough or something. So I went and did some work, and this teacher or this mentor told me about the medicine, and I was like, oh, I want to do that. And there was just something there. I was like, oh, I've never heard of this. I have to try this medicine. And I really wanted to go, um, but she didn't want to go. And then he said, he's like, either do it together or you shouldn't do it at all because it's gonna completely shift your frequencies, and you'll probably end up breaking up. And I was like, oh, okay, bummer. So I decided not to go. And then I moved down to Austin, and then we broke up. Her and I broke up a week later, and I was like, wait, I can go. I want to go to this retreat now. So I messaged them and was like, hey, is there space left still? And he was like, yeah, actually somebody just dropped out. a couple days ago. So if you want the spot, it's yours. And so just that thread of magic, I was like, let's do it. So I did it, and you know, went down to Peru, and
Hmm.
and that's where we met.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
were the only two on that retreat working with that medicine.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a very special medicine. It's a very
It is.
strong medicine.
Yes.
Very strong.
Very, very strong. Yes. And what was so exquisite now that we have hindsight is at the exact same time as you were going through that experience of moving down to Austin and breaking up with your ex and then deciding that you wanted to jump in and do this retreat was I was in Costa Rica and coming to the end of my marriage. Um, and I had been obviously thinking about it and, questioning it and in this kind of inquiry of whether it was over for at least a year. But when we got to Costa Rica and we actually had a really bad car accident, I came out of that and I realized I wasn't telling myself the truth. Um, and that if I didn't start really telling myself the truth, more bad things like that were going to happen. Like I'd already had the brain injury and recovered from that. And then we had this car accident in Costa Rica. And so, literally around the same time that you were coming out of your relationship, I ended my marriage. And I thought that I was going to Peru to work with Noya Rao with another friend of mine, a female friend of mine. So it was meant to be her and me as the two people on this retreat working with Noya Rao. And it was only when I got to Peru, because she dropped out at the last minute and you must have dropped in the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Pretty much.
literally
Yeah.
like she pulled out and you jumped in.
Yeah.
And so when I got to Peru and I got told that this guy called Nick was going to be doing doing the medicine with me, I was like, huh? Who's this guy? So we met. That's where we met. Um, and what was the experience for you when we met?
Well, I mean, I was, I think we just had a really strong connection. I felt like we knew each other for a long time, and it was, we had really deep conversations. And I mean, I think just through our conversations helped my journey with the medicine, because it was opening, like it was bringing things into my consciousness that got seeded into the medicine. And yeah, really, I I don't, I was definitely not in any space of thinking of relationship or anything like that. I think I was just so like recovering. And
Well, even not even barely recovering. You'd just come out of the car crash.
yeah, and I had like PTSD for a while from this relationship, in a certain sense with certain things. So, I just, I kind of, for me, it was just like, I felt a really deep connection, but there was, I didn't really think
Anything. Oh,
anything past that. I just was not even capable of it at the time.
yeah. And me too. And I think that's what I think is actually really beautiful that way. I think a lot of people might assume that when we saw each other, it was like, oh my God, it's my soulmate. No, it was not like that at all. Like when I met you, I don't think I've ever had this experience with any man, meaning I just felt like I'd known you forever. But there was no attraction. There was no sexual energy. There was nothing that was flirty or crossing any kind of energetic lines. You just felt, I mean, you just felt safe to me. I'd never felt that with anyone, but even I didn't know it at the time that that's what I was feeling. But I remember just wanting to be close to you. and we literally went everywhere together around the retreat, but it was just this very, very pure connection.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember when you'd be in your ceremonies, and because you took such way bigger doses than I did, um, you would still be doing your work, and I would be sitting next to you on the mat. And I remember thinking, I really care about you. Like, I care about this human being. I hope he's okay. And I remember just putting my hand on your foot, or just sitting. And like, people would say to me, like, you can go now, you're done. And I'd be like, no, I'm going to wait for him to come out. And it just wasn't anything other than, I just care for this person. So it was interesting because we really didn't know each other that long, but there was a connection there. And when we came out of it, what I remember is that we just were instantly just checking in with each other every day. How are you? Hi. How are you? Hi. But that was it. Like, it was just kind of this friendship
Yeah.
that was blooming.
Yeah, it was a deep friendship, and I think there was this like closeness that we had that it was just so easy to be together, just wandering around the retreat together, and and we were on the same we were doing the same medicine.
Yes.
um so I think that was a piece, that was also a piece of it, that was just like and it was a different energy, different bond.
Yes. And what most people don't realize is that it actually took another 6 months for us as friends, building a friendship. And I had been put on a dieta where I was on no sexual energy at all for 6 months, even with myself. So I was really in this very deep process of clearing out any entanglements around that energy. And at the same time, going home and quite literally like bringing a 13-year marriage to an end.
Right.
And you were going home to an empty house that had no furniture in it, to the beginnings of a completely new life.
New life, new city, rebuilding all over again.
Yeah. And I guess, fast forward over that time, we really built a friendship and a safety that we had. It was only really when you came to New Zealand, you did a shoot for me. And now I look back on it, I'm like, I probably wanted to see you again. So I booked the shoot. But there was still like no agenda. Like, you were on the plane on the way to New Zealand. And I messaged our mutual friend, Regan, and I said, is there something more between Nick and I? And she was like, I've been waiting for this message. And I'm like, what do you mean you've been waiting for this message? What do you mean by that? And they had seen something blossoming between us on the retreat, but they didn't want to tell us.
Right.
But you came to New Zealand, and I think when we were working together, and that kind of creative force that came through when we were shooting together, that was kind of the beginnings, I think, of thinking. I mean, for me anyway, I'll speak for myself. Like, oh, I just want to be close to this person, like, all the time.
Yeah, we definitely had a closeness that was different.
Yeah.
And I think that was what there was always like this, we just kept wanting to talk to each other. We kept wanting to like hang out with each other. And
Yeah.
I think that was, that's, I think, a first for me. That's something that I look for, is just to even want to hang out with this person.
Yeah. Yeah. You really did feel like a best friend to me. Like, you were really someone I wanted to talk to. And maybe I've never told you this, but I'd also I also was experiencing something with you that I'd never experienced with anyone before. And that was you seemed, now I've been with you for a year and a half. This is such a pivotal part of our relationship and the gift that you really bring into my heart and my life. But even then, when we were friends, you really could see me. It was like you could just see right through everything that I was kind of hiding. And then you'd say it, or you'd just message me on a day when I would be like kind of holding it all together, which was a really odd pattern of mine. And sometimes I can still do it. And you'd just be like, it's okay to let go. Or you'd just say something that just, it's like you could feel my heart. And then I'd just cry like instantly, like poof, just so many tears just from one line from you.
Hmm.
And I'd never experienced that. I'd always been the boss and the leader and the one at the front and the one taking care of everyone else. And suddenly I was building this friendship with you, and you could really see me. And I was starting to experience something. You were really able to contribute to me in a way that I'd never experienced before.
Right.
Like you could just disarm me. Is that the right way to say it? Disarm me.
Disarm, yeah.
Yeah, and just like in like a few words, all the protection would go, and I would just be very vulnerable, which was really beautiful. I mean, it still is. It's such a big part of what you bring for me. Um, so talk about what it was like when I asked you to come to London to be with me.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we kind of had we just carried on this deep connection, and we kind of talked a lot about it a little bit at the end of the New Zealand trip.
Yeah. We
Uh,
had talked about how there seems like there's something here,
yeah.
but when neither of us were ready.
No, and you were living in New Zealand and
And in a marriage
in a
that was
marriage
ending,
and kids
and
and
kids,
all the
all
things.
the
And
things.
so it was kind of like, okay, well,
Yeah.
we have this deep connection, but what is that? I mean, New Zealand is probably the farthest place you could farthest away that you could be besides Antarctica.
Yes. And you lived in the US
Yeah.
and you had been there. So you saw like that there was like a full like family still that needed to be deconstructed. Even though my ex and I had ended the relationship, there was still all the roots that had to come out.
Yeah, and you were like still living in the same house thinking, and it was like this. I was like, you guys need to
You need to deal with that.
yeah.
Yes.
But I mean, we talked every day, or messaged every day. And I think there was just always, there's something there. That connection is still there throughout. And then, yeah, you were like, well, I'm going to be in London for 6 weeks. I'm going to have a flat out there, and, it might be a good opportunity that we can spend some time together if you want to come out.
Well, I kind of want to talk about that process because I think that the women listening to this episode will find this really useful. Um, I had to go through quite a lot of my own self-healing to get to the point for me to have the courage to ask you to come. And it was really a healing process for me because if I'm really, really honest, and I think that women can see the future faster than men. I do think that women have the ability to kind of see through what may be intuitively the possibility of the future. Um, and when you left New Zealand, I I knew that you were my soulmate. I messaged our mutual friend and I said, I think he might be my soulmate. And so I knew then that we could have something really special. But I also knew you weren't ready. When I looked at you, I saw someone who was really kind of picking up the rubble of your last relationship, and learning to kind of trust yourself again, and heal those wounds, and how to feel safe again with love. Um, and so it was really quite and it was a beautiful opportunity for me as a woman in my own healing process to learn to do this differently. Meaning, I I I could see that there was something extraordinary between us, but it would be totally unsafe for you, and and not what you needed at all, for me to try to hook you in, or to try to manipulate the situation in some way to give you what I wanted, or what I could see, but actually to learn to be a really safe, loving space with my heart wide open to you, but to give you the freedom to choose me.
Yeah.
And that took so much of my own self work. Like all the evenings where I felt really needy and like I wanted so much to kind of make sure that this was going to happen, like the work I had to do to clear that, and to find my own center, and and the work that I had to do to keep my heart open, even though you weren't sure whether you wanted this, and not to protect and armor and close, um to allow myself to stay vulnerable and open, but totally centered in my own anchor.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really big piece that you have to like that. I mean, especially women have to know is that you have to do that work, especially if if you say like, I know this person is my soulmate. You can't just jump out and say that.
You
The guy will
can't.
like run for the hills.
Exactly. And of course I could see that. Not that I could only see that as in it wouldn't be a good strategy. I could see that that was the last thing you needed.
Yeah.
You needed someone, you just needed a friend, and you needed someone that would be safe.
hmm Yeah, I needed that for where I was at, and also, in general, I think men need that. I think the more a woman
Projects.
projects and comes onto a man, especially in the beginning stages, it's prime space for the man to like want to run away and be like, whoa, I don't feel safe here.
Right.
But I think the work that you did made me feel safe, and it made me actually like feel comfortable with you and make me still wanting to keep talking to you.
Yeah.
um
And even allow the connection to keep going deeper.
yeah, so, and to keep going deeper, and that's, I think, letting the connection go deeper, feeling safe, and not like, oh, I almost said a word that's like a CIA agent.
What?
Honeypotted.
Oh, right. Like not manipulating you into or seducing you
Yeah, seducing. I
to
get.
give me what I want.
Yeah, because I think there was a big part of my last relationship, and then probably other relationships, where I let myself get manipulated. And I'll take ownership and responsibility of letting myself get in that space. Um, but I think what's been beautiful is that we've both been able to outgrow the pieces that have allowed us to like let the connection grow organically
Yes.
and feel safe in that respect. I think
Yes.
when one party, but either party is pushing one agenda, it's like this, it's too much. I mean, maybe I don't. I mean, I know women like to be pursued in a certain sense,
Yeah.
but also like how much of that, we talked about like how much is that the little girl that just wants to be seen.
And this whole thing about being chosen, like how much of that is the wound from our fathers. Like,
Yeah.
please choose me as the most important one in your world.
Yeah.
Like I could see that you needed the freedom to choose rather than to be hooked in.
Yeah.
But what was really profound for me, that even if you didn't choose me, that whole process of going deeper with you, keeping my heart open and feeling what I felt for you was so profound for me, because I learned to love myself so much that if you weren't ready, it wasn't anything to do with me. I was ready for this kind of love. And so learning how to be a safe space, learning how to be completely responsible for my own neediness and hooks, and wanting to speed it up and wanting to make sure, and my fears of abandonment and my fears of betrayal, like all of that was 100% my responsibility. And so doing that work so that I was staying centered, but my heart wide open and vulnerable. Wow. Even if you didn't choose me, that changed me forever. That I know I would have been ready for this kind of love. So it was so healing for me. It was maturing for me to learn how to do that. And then when I got to the point when I realized that I didn't want to, we never played games. That's what I love about us. We never once played games. When you said you were going to call, you'd call. When you messaged me, I'd message back. When I felt something, I would share it with you. Like, we just didn't play games. And so I realized part of what was really important was that I told you the truth, that I actually told you what I wanted, but I gave you the freedom to choose whether you wanted to give me what my desires are. And so I called you up and I said, and I remember how vulnerable I felt, because it was new for me to say so clearly what I desired and to open my heart and be vulnerable, and not protect, but really then let it go and give you the absolute freedom to choose yes or no. And so I called you up and I said, I'm going to be in London. I'm going to be there for 6 weeks. I really want you to come, and I want you to spend time with me. And I want you to spend a lot of time, like not just a week, but I want you to come and spend a lot of time with me there. If you can do the whole 6 weeks, that's what I would really love. And then this last bit, everybody, this was the most vulnerable of a bit. I said, and I don't want you to come under the guise of work. I want you to come because you're coming for me. And I remember leaving that message and I was like, oh my God. But it felt good to me to be able to hold myself that way and to be that honest and vulnerable. And really, I was like, I really meant it. You can say yes or you can say no. You have that freedom. But this is where I am.
Yeah.
How did that feel for you, getting that message?
Well, I mean, I liked it. I think to preface that, is we had also talked about the connection and what we were like in the inquiry of what that meant, right?
We had, yes.
So I would say like that is what made that message feel like, oh yeah, this is something that I want to like explore. I think if we, I mean, if we probably wouldn't be messaging every day, and like had we not talked about this connection and what it could, like in the inquiry of it, it would have been a little more awkward.
Yeah. And random.
So, I mean, I would say like, okay, if a woman is feeling this for a man, like suss it out first before you make a grand gesture.
Yeah.
Or not a grand gesture, but just a gesture
It
of
did
like,
feel like a grand gesture to
yeah,
me. Yeah.
like suss the connection out a little bit, first, feel out if there is, talk about whether there is some sort of
Yeah, I didn't say
mutual.
it out of the blue. Like, you had invested time in me. You
Yeah.
had messaged me almost every day. I would wake up and there would be a good morning from you. Like, you'd invested time.
Yeah.
And I felt that, you know.
Yeah. I mean, you read the room.
I read the room. I was like, I think I mean something to him. Whether he's ready for that to be anything more, I don't know. So I'm going to take a risk.
Yeah.
And, you getting on a plane and flying, from America to the UK is a gesture.
Yeah,
It's not
especially
like
for
just
6
going
weeks.
to, especially for 6 weeks. Like you literally came with your suitcases and you came for 6 weeks. Wow, thank God we ended up really liking each other.
Could have been really awkward.
Could have been really awkward. So tell me, and everyone, what is your experience of our relationship now? You know, we live together now, we're building a life together.
I mean, it just feels easy. Like, I think our relationship really is like the extension of following the thread of magic. I think that there is this, the way that we both move through the world feels coherent and cohesive. And so everything, and I feel like with the work that you do, not only, but I'm especially on yourself, but that you teach, and then, me coming into the work as well, doing listening to life and then coaching with David,
Yeah.
I think helps us to both navigate the relationship in a much more easeful way,
Yes.
because we can both take responsibility for our own stories and our own things. I think you've been doing this work for a lot longer, but I've been working on myself, doing a lot of this type of stuff for quite a while. This is probably the deepest work that I've done within my own world. Um, but I think it's definitely helped the way that the relationship has moved through time. I mean, especially like with the variables involved. You having kids living in New Zealand, and we have to travel back and forth, and
Yes.
or you travel back and forth for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, we both travel a lot, but even the whole kind of way that it all, yes, I think a huge part of the flow and the lack of drama that is available in our connection is to do with the deeper work that we do. But there also seemed to be an awful lot of support from life. Like life seemed to want us together
Yeah, yeah, I agree, and
because it was just like green light, green light, green. Like how I remember sitting in New Zealand with you and you were like, how could this ever work? Like you live in New Zealand, I live in America, you have like it didn't make any logical sense.
right.
And yet it was like, I mean, it was just magic. It was like suddenly you were the one who suggested that I go back to my immigration lawyer and apply for my visa that I tried 20 years ago and got rejected for. Well, actually, I didn't get rejected for. I just didn't finish the process. But you were like, why don't you get in touch with her? And then, boom, 3 months later, I have that visa, and then I'm flying to you, and the space just keeps. It was like opening up. It was like our world was just opening up to allow this very unconventional structure to just be possible.
Yeah, I mean, even like the first trip, we were like, oh, let's like work together or figure out, and then we got booked to
And
go to Ireland
that was it.
at the end of the trip, and
Then we started getting booked for jobs together, and we were literally like traveling from country to country to country together.
yeah,
And most of you will be really kind of surprised to hear this. About 3 weeks before I met you, my teacher David, who's now coaches you and he coaches me, he said to me, you have to prepare yourself that you may never meet someone that could even live the life that you live, like the amount that you travel and the way that you work. Like it's unlikely that you're going to meet someone. So you're more likely going to have lovers in different countries. And I was like, okay, I mean, that's not such a bad thing. I was kind of preparing myself for the second half of my life to be like that. And what's so wild is that we literally have a life that we can travel all over the world together and work, and both of us be in our absolute mastery.
yeah,
It's wild.
it's just all flowed.
It just,
It's so
everything just were like this. On paper, it made no sense. And yet it was just like done, 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 done.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just keep following the thread of magic and it just keeps opening doors and moving. And I mean, I couldn't even imagine if things were just what would happen if like there were so many roadblocks within it. I mean, both of us would be like,
It's too hard.
I love you, but
It's too hard.
this is, yeah, too much, too hard.
Yeah, and I think that there's an element of really listening to what life is showing us, and life was kind of making it really clear that we can be together.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
who would have thought?
Who would have thought? Yeah.
Especially like, I mean, especially logistically, who would have thought it, it, that this would work the way that it does?
Yeah. So, are there any juicy questions that you want to ask me?
Juicy questions.
Or anything that would require me to have to think and really kind of share a little bit more deeply? Nothing is off the table. No, really, nothing is off the table.
I mean, I would say like, what's opened up for you since we've been together?
Wow. Um, you and this really has been since the moment I met you, but obviously as we have deepened and have become, I guess, in a committed relationship and I guess in union, it's gone deeper. You have this presence that it's like you just make my nervous system calm. Just being with you, like I've never slept better in my life. Like you're like my best sleep aid. Like it's like my whole system just feels at peace when I'm with you. And that has allowed, for someone that has done as much work on myself as I have, you have allowed caverns to open up within me that I didn't even know that were there, that has allowed a depth of healing for me that is just like, it's like magic. Like, when I, even just allowing myself to fall in love with you and to feel so safe. Like when we first got together after London, like it all tied around that time of healing a really deep wound with my father that had been going on my whole life since I was 4. And it all like coincided with you coming into my life. And I think that it really, you've really allowed me to complete a piece that I had been carrying my whole life around feeling safe to surrender into the masculine holding. My father left before I was born. I never, ever knew what it felt like to have a male there to protect me and to be there as a masculine force to lean back into. So I became the masculine force. And you have just been a presence and a space for me that has allowed, it's like an entire shield of armor that just has just dismantled. And with that, just so much healing, really allowing myself to be more vulnerable. I remember the first time you held me when I really broke down in emotion. And I have never been held like that before. I'd never once.
Wow.
And somehow you could see that I was carrying so much emotion, and I would just be kind of being strong and getting on with it. And you would just come over to me and you'd be like, you just hold me. And then poof, the tears. And the strength that you have held me in, I've never had before. And so it's just like a constant portal of healing for me. In every area, in learning how to lead, in my work, more from the feminine, like feeling the safety of you and the holding of you has just allowed my career and the abundance in my world just to go. um Sexually, as a woman, in my desires and in my body and in my desires for pleasure, and allowing myself to let go and surrender and to receive, like, wow, like you've opened up like a whole universe for me that I didn't even know. I literally told my teacher before I met you, I have such an amazing career, I have these amazing children, like I'm living my purpose, like why do I need like a pleasurable sex life? And he was like, wait, hold on a second. You're only 45. And I'd put on a lot of weight because I was suppressing so much desire and need. And like literally it's just shed off me. And you're a man of not many words. Like you're not loud and extrovert, but your presence just has constantly spoken very loudly for me, and I feel your strength. Like I feel that you've got me. And to have someone in my life that can see me, sometimes even more deeply than I can see myself, is, I just think that that's like gold. Particularly as someone that my job is to see people. And I'm like, wow, now I have someone that can see me. I mean, it's it's the greatest gift you could give me. And I'd love to hear, like, have you watched me change over the time of being with me?
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely seen you get softer, and I think we brought a lot of the Nikki out that has been suppressed for years.
Yeah.
One of my favorites is Raver Nikki.
Yeah. Raven Nick resurrected Raven Nicky. Well, in honesty, like, I back in my very destructive years of drinking a lot and partying a lot and just like all kind of in a very hedonistic way, I buried that version of me thinking it was bad. But actually, what you have allowed to come back is actually the part of me that is a really free spirit and loves play and joy and pleasure and dancing and and I thought I had buried her under so much seriousness, and you just brought her back.
Yeah, she's fun. I think that is something that I love about you, and just in general too, of like being able to go and have a fun time. And I love seeing River Nikki come through. Get down with some good house music.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing how we both love. I'm so glad we love the same music.
Yeah, me too.
um.
I think this is something that I think it's a big topic of conversation, that it would be interesting, especially for women out there who live a lot in their masculine. Like, what has shifted for you to be able to soften and to be in your feminine, especially running a business, providing for your family,
Yeah.
and doing all these things that has required you to be in the masculine holder, or be the masculine holder in your world. And now it's like, oh, there's, I see it when you're leading programs, and you come out and you're like,
Yes, I literally come out of being the king, and then I walk out into our life, and I'm just like queen. I'm like, you're the king of this household. For sure. Yeah, I literally just like, and you've got me. And I think that this is a really interesting part. I think a lot of the narrative that is shared when it comes to polarity and masculine and feminine work as always, I think that there's a lot of truths that get really entangled with survival and childhood survival stories. Like this whole thing about you need to be my king and you need to be this masculine strength, and as if there's a particular way that you need to be, like words like being the provider, being in your masculine strength, being my king. Like these are words that I have heard a lot in the self-development industry, but it's all you're like
Ugh.
but it's almost like it's been so distorted that what that means is like some kind of stereotypical cartoon character of a strong masculine king that's going to protect you and
Come rescue you.
come rescue you and choose you, as if it's like there are elements of truth in it, real deep profound truths, but entangled with like the little girl that wasn't loved and prioritized by daddy. I was one of that. I was that person once. And what I'm experiencing is the purity of those teachings, is that it isn't about you must pay every check and you must pull my chair out and you must, I don't know, buy me flowers every day, and you must be the financial provider, and you must, like, as if there's all these kind of things to tick off on the checklist that mean you are now king and masculine man. And
Right.
I think that is as equally distorted as what we were speaking about at the beginning when it comes to like presenting a relationship to sell a product.
Right. Right.
Something pure gets entangled with survival. But actually, my experience of you is, you often shared about how your ex would complain a lot about you not being the king and you not being strong enough and you not, like, this kind of constant disappointment. And I think that that's a real pain for women. You're not giving me enough. You're not providing me enough. You're not loving me enough. You're not seeing me enough. You're not like, and I think that 90% of that, I would say 100% of that complaint is our responsibility. That pain is something that we are already carrying, that we bring into the relationship. But it was there before you even showed up.
Yeah.
It's the pain of where the daddy prioritized being present and emotionally present with me over everything else he wanted to do in his life. And I speak for myself and many other women.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that totally makes sense because, like, I realized at a certain point in this past relationship that I was never going to be enough to suffice the need,
To meet that need,
to meet
that pain.
to meet that pain.
Yeah.
And so I was always going to be in that space of I'm not enough. Everything that I'm doing is not enough, not enough, not
Which, of course, was also, that was the pain of your story too.
Yeah.
Like you just couldn't be who you were. Who you were as yourself is not enough. So you have to somehow do other things to please.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's an interesting piece, and there again, it's like both sides, there's something to own and take responsibility for.
100%. There always is 50%, 50%. But what I just kind of want to finish the thread on this, because when I have taken responsibility for that pain, and it can still come up sometimes, like when we've gone through difficulties, like, we lost a baby, and when we went through that, all that pain of not being able to, I guess the pain of my father, of not being prioritized and not being wanted and not being committed to, was my pain. But in healing that and like really being responsible for that, it does then allow me to show up with you from a more whole, I guess, present, mature, loving place. And in that, there are certain elements that it's important that you do bring, like like I love how, like, I know of course you're human and you can get destabilized yourself, but I love how present you are. Like it's like your nervous system is just, and that kind, to me, that's real strength.
Mm.
That's real strength. Like when I am like emotional or wobbly or frightened or anxious or can't sleep or I'm spiraling or feeling the pressures of my life, you are like, you're like solid. And that, I'm like, wow, oh, that's what strength, masculine strength is. Because then that allows me just to go, oh, I can actually let him support me. Like you can contribute to me and I can let you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think I love how, even though we share a life, I love how purpose driven you are. Like, I love how I just watch you and you work so hard. Like, you work so hard. And I know you would do that even if it wasn't with me, but I can see how hard you work in order to, I guess, be in your power and create your world. And to me, that again, that feels like such a strength that I just not only feel safe in, but it inspires me. And I think also another piece, and I think women who are leaders, we may find this difficult. I certainly did before meeting you, letting myself learn from you, you know? Like I I know a lot of stuff. I'm kind of the boss and the king of my world, but wow, when I slow down and I'm humble, I have learned so much from you. You teach me so much. And that to me feels like gold again. It's like, oh, you mean I don't know everything? Like this person is contributing so much to my growth.
Yeah, I think that I mean, I feel the same. I feel like you contribute to my growth so much as well. I mean, I feel like I've grown so much through this relationship, and um yeah, I think that's the way it should be. And
Yes.
otherwise it'd be boring
Yes.
and unproductive
Yes.
in a
And
certain
I
sense.
I I used to wonder, is it even really possible to be completely free and committed in a union? Like, is that really possible? Or in order for that to happen, do you have to suppress certain aspects of yourself? And I'm really wondering with you if it is possible. In fact, that being with you and us together, I think I do the same with you. It actually not only inspires, but it's like a catalyst for us to be more our true, authentic selves.
Yeah, I feel that.
Right. So
I think you have to find the right person, right? I think it works with us.
it does.
I think there's been other past relationships where that would not have been the case for me.
Yeah, me too. I mean, that's why my marriage ended.
Yeah.
Right. And I think a lot of people, we've worked with a lot of different kinds of healers, and we've had a repetitive thing said to us that who we are individually and as sovereign beings, are both really unconventional beings. Like, we both have a very unconventional desire for what a relationship is. Um, and the way that we deal with reality is pretty unconventional. And that it's quite extraordinary that we found each other, because then we can be these weirdos together.
It's true.
It's
It's true.
true.
We have so many inside jokes and that just would not make sense to anyone else. In that, in the weirdness and the in just that. that.
Yeah, but I think also like in our unconventional, what else is unconventional? Like
Well, our whole life is unconventional.
our whole life is the way that we live. Like we really do. Like the whole planet is kind of our home, and but we do have our beautiful home and our base. Um, but I think also the fact that we kind of knew pretty early on that we didn't want to have children, which I know has been a back and forth for us for a while. It's a strange experience when you meet someone that you love this much. I think there's just a kind of a biological aspect to want to somehow make a baby with this human being. But the fact that we have decided that we don't want to have children, that in itself is it kind of brings up a lot, doesn't it? Like I guess for you, like what does that bring up for you as a man that has made that decision?
I mean, it's there's parts of it. It's like, yeah, there's aspects of me that I'm like, oh, that would have been it would have been amazing to have like a little mini me running around,
Yeah.
but on the same respect as like the older I get, the less I actually desire to go through that whole process.
Yeah.
And so there is like this kind of both sides, grieving
What
both
does our
sides.
friend say? A friend of ours said recently there's grief on both sides. There's grief in not having the child together, and then there's the grief of losing what we have together if we were to have a child.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for me, it's, yeah, having, I think this is a relationship that I've wanted, the freedom to be able to like travel around the world together and to do what we want and build and create and do all these things that as a couple, you know, and I think that's the piece that I've really wanted, and
To laugh as much as we laugh.
to laugh as much as we laugh, and I would want that time before having any children, but we're both at the age where it kind of
We don't get that time.
we don't have that option.
Yeah.
So
You're 47, I'm 46. Yeah. I mean, I know that we've both said it, if we'd met earlier, if only we'd met earlier, then maybe we could have like 5 years together and then have a child. But then neither of us really think that we would have been mature enough to have the kind of relationship that we have now if we'd met earlier.
yeah.
Right. So I guess it just is what it is meant to be,
Hmm.
you know? But of course, I have my children.
Yeah.
So that I think is a really interesting question. You know, when we first were friends, like the thought of of giving your heart and getting into a deep relationship with someone that had children was not on your to-do list.
Definitely was not.
So share with everyone and me as honestly and as vulnerably as you can, like how has that process been in turning from someone that was like no to yes, slowly, slowly.
I mean, it's been a slow burn growth. I think, I think the situation that we have where, we have our time together and then they come up for certain parts, I think is makes that,
And the fact that they have a father that is really amazing
yeah.
and is really present. It's not like they're fatherless, like they have a father.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's been just a growth a growth edge, and it's just taken time.
What's the process been when, like, talk us through, like, when you started meeting them, but as my partner? What came up for you? Like, how did that grow you?
Well, I mean, I think it's still
I mean, it takes time.
It takes time, and I'm still getting used to it.
Yes.
And they're great kids, and I think there's spaces of just having kids in my space for a full time, like sun up till sundown type of setting is a new. It's new. It's I've a new patience to learn,
Yes.
and not having gone through the whole process, it just takes some adjustment.
Yes. I mean, you're doing an amazing job. You are. And I think for me, just really realizing that this really does take time. Like it takes time for them to build that bond, even though they love you. And but they already knew you before we became partners because you came out to New Zealand. But it takes time to build that really deep bond. You think about parents, they have time. Like they have it from the moment that the child is born to building this bond and bond and bond through all the nights and nappies and everything that goes on. But for you, it's like a 7-year-old and an 11-year-old came into your life. And for them, it's like they'd never seen me with anyone else other than their dad. So it's been such an extraordinary process of patience and love and care and listening and communicating. And like even now we're about to spend our first Christmas together. I mean, they're really excited. And I think it's been really beautiful for me watching you kind of show up when it's hard. It's been hard and confronting and frightening at times because how do you talk to an 11-year-old girl? You have to learn. It's like it's like a different planet.
Yeah, I mean, we're learning all about Riz and
I mean, it's been really, really beautiful for me, like watching that slow blossoming process. But it has really just even deepened my love for you, just watching you, like going from someone that was like, "Can I do this?" to, putting my kids' holidays in your calendar and it being part of how you're mapping things out, and to taking Taya and spending 3 hours with her and teaching her how to make a hat, to sitting at the table when Taya can talk nonstop, and she did talk nonstop, and you just sat there and with her and listened and listened and listened. I was like, wow, he's more patient than me. But I could see, I was watching you and I was like, wow, he's doing that intentionally. He's staying at the table to build a bond with her. And I've just been really moved watching you do something hard. So let's not cry at the table.
yeah, I think it's definitely been a just learning process and growth, and I think it's been just worked well in the way that it has, where it's been a slow, couple weeks here, a couple weeks there. It's like, okay.
Yes.
And each time it gets to a different level. And I think that really works.
Yeah.
But I think, one thing that I've always admired about you is how you take responsibility for your life and you live with integrity.
Hmm.
And I think that, that goes into the space of taking care of your kids. You make an effort to go back across the world to be there with them and to be present with them. And I think that's important, especially with women that have kids out there and want to date somebody, or like that other person doesn't have kids or has never had kids. And I think the piece that I respect is that you take responsibility for that part. I mean, your whole life, everything in your life, and I think that's a big part of everything that you teach. So you live what you teach. And I think that's really important.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of I know that the choices that I made as a mother have challenged a lot of people, and I got a lot of hate at the beginning. And it has been a very, very deep process to really be in a constant deep inquiry of that line between being absolutely authentically true to myself and being radically responsible for the role that I am to these two extraordinary beings as their mama. And I remember my teacher saying to me, the worst thing you could do, Nicky, for your children is to not become who you are, not become who you were born to be. And I had never heard anyone say that ever. I had only ever seen mothers give themselves up to be mother. And I've worked with thousands and thousands and thousands of human beings, and I have taken every single one of those human beings back to the roots of their childhood. And 100% of the time, it doesn't matter if the mother is physically in the room. It is whether the mother was present emotionally, was modeling that the mother loved herself and really honored herself, and modeling a woman that is true to all of who she is and not betraying or abandoning herself in order to be this role. And 100% of the people that I've worked with did not have a mother like that. So the generation that we've come from and the generations before that and all that we women have inherited with the stories of what it is to be mother, I had to take that on as I really was in this inquiry of, if I don't follow my heart, and it wasn't just kind of some reckless, I'm falling in love. It was like, no, I feel the depth of what we have, and this is my home. And if I don't follow this, I am suppressing and betraying myself. But at the same time, I absolutely cannot and I will not abandon these children. So, wow, like, can it be possible to do both? Is it possible? And to me, my discovery is that it is not just choosing different choices. It's like creating a whole new paradigm to what we have inherited around the stories and the conditioning around it. And my children, they feel me. Like, even if I'm not physically in the room, they feel my presence. And I realize that bond and connection and authenticity is not created by just physically in the room. It is created through how deeply you can see your child for who they really are, how deeply and authentically you can communicate with your child and allow them to see you as a human being, not just as their mother, and to be present to what they might need more than just physical survival needs. And so it's been a really beautiful process. And my daughter will say to me, I have never seen you so happy, Mummy. And so, as painful as this process has been, as in to dismantle her world, she's like, something good must be happening. Because she watches me now and she's like, wow, my mum is so happy. Like, she's happy and she's fulfilled and she's living her purpose and she's bloody present with me. And I'm like, wow, that's like a whole nother model of a mother. So it was scary at the beginning. It was, a lot of people, I got a lot of hate. I got some trolling from other mothers. Everybody thought I was having an affair with a toy boy who was in his 20s because he looked so young, when in fact he's older than me. And I, of course, hadn't had an affair. I'd been 8 months out of a marriage by the time we got together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think also there's a lot of I mean, I probably similar to that my upbringing, but you can be there physically every day for your child, but a lot of times there's no presence. I experienced that with my parents. It's like they were there. My mom was there every day, but I don't think I really felt her presence in the room, like her being present with me and seeing me all the time.
And that's the thing, is that what allows that presence is that if she's present with herself, if
Yeah.
she can be present and true to herself, it allows her to be present with you and to see you beyond her own stories and projections and masks. And so I think that's what we forget. We forget that actually the more present we are able to be with ourselves, the more available we can be in presence for another. And that's our children too. What was it that David said to you? He said, it's not just that you couldn't feel them.
You couldn't I couldn't feel them feel me.
You couldn't feel them feel you. Oh, that is so important. And I don't think we hear that enough. I think a lot of parents think that it's just important that the kid can feel our love. But no, it's not just that. The child needs to feel that the parent can feel him.
Yeah.
Like, can you feel me? I'm here, not just the projection you have of me. Can you feel who I am?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, because I grew up in such a religious Christian upbringing, and like everything was projected onto me as who I should be, when I didn't feel seen for who I was. I just felt like, oh, you have to be this good Christian boy.
Yes, and I think that's it. When people say I want to be seen, what they really mean, what we really mean is I want to be felt. I want you to be able to feel who I am.
Yeah.
And then for me to feel that you can feel me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like when I've learned that from David too, and when I spend time with Callum, I say to him, like, I feel your love for me. And his face, he's like, ah. you know, it's even more powerful that he can feel me feeling him, right?
Yeah.
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 It's so beautiful. It's so life affirming. Right. So as we come to the close of this first chapter, I mean, maybe we'll have more conversations like this. We have amazing conversations just all day long, every day. um, is there anything left that you want to ask me? And then I'll see if there's anything else I want to ask you.
Mm, can't think of anything off the top of my head right now.
Okay. I guess I wanted to ask you, and maybe it'll then you may want to ask me the same thing, is there any way that I could love you more or better than I am already loving you?
I don't know. I think you do a pretty good job. I think you balance me out in all the ways that I need. And you see me and feel me and understand me.
Hmm. Well, that's good to know. And that question is an open question in case there is something that more that comes up. But I'm glad to hear that you feel loved and seen. It matters a lot to me. I think that's actually just one thing I want to say is it only occurred to me in this relationship that I have with you how sacred it is for a woman to hold a man's heart in her hands. It's a privilege. And everything that I had been taught, everything I had inherited, all the conditioning I'd come with was somehow that your job as a man was to give something to me, like you need to give me what I need. You need to provide for me. You need to give. But in all that needing, it was like a blind spot that no, when a man gives you his heart, that is an honor, and to hold it with care. And so I take it as a real honor to hold your heart that you have given me. And I hold it with such care.
Thank you. Well, I will flip it back on you. Is there anything else, anything that I can do to love you more?
I mean, no, I mean, I really mean this. And I'm not just saying this to be mushy. I feel so loved by you, and I feel seen, and I feel your protection of me. You know, I really feel you thinking about how to care for me and what I might need, and particularly when I miss it in myself, and you're just kind of right there, and I feel that, and I feel the safety that you provide for me. And when you say to me that you love that when I'm expanding, you know, and my growth and my success, like I really feel that you mean it. Like you're not threatened by it. You're like, go fly. And I feel that. Yeah.
Good.
Thank you. Okay. Well, that was the open door to our love, our relationship, and maybe we'll do it again. And if any of you have any particular questions that you want to ask us, you can write them in. You can write them underneath the YouTube video, or you can DM either of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe we'll take those questions and we can do this again.
Do another episode.
Yeah. So, the door is open now. It didn't feel so scary, and I still feel like it's sacred.
Yeah.
And it still feels like a protected, sacred piece. So, yeah. So thank you, my beloved.